Welcome to the Live Your Dreams podcast, where success leaves clues and someone has your answer. Joined with me, as always, my lovely co-host, Miss Tia Mckisset.
Hello.
All right, Tia, so how was your week last week?
I had a great week. How about you?
Good. Had a really good week. I always say the weeks go by really fast.
It does.
I think when you're getting close to half to 100, your weeks start to go by faster. When you were younger, they didn't go by fast enough. Now, when you get older, they start to go by really fast. So today, we're talking about faith. And, you know, I like to start with a story. I remember when we were going up to West Virginia. It was me, you, your father, your mom. We were going to West Virginia, and Tom started talking. That's when me and your father first really started to bond. Yeah, and have a relationship. And we started talking. I never forget, he turned around and said, okay, what is faith, right? And I just answered because I knew, because, again, I was studying. And I said, well, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Right. And then we took off from there. And we had a conversation the whole way up, at dinner, the whole way back. And ever since then, it was like the student-teacher relationship, Right. But one thing I would think, especially, Tom would teach about was faith, right? Right. And he would always talk about, what did he call? I think he called it self-programming and biofeedback or something like that. Talking about doing self-affirmations and kind of talking to yourself. And really, he really believed that, hey, faith is really based off what you believe. Right. And you can have as much faith as you believe you can. Right. And he really taught on that subject of faith. When we talk about faith, what does that mean to you, Tia?
Well, I think everybody have faith, even in things they do in everyday life, such as we sitting here in this chair. We had faith that it was going to hold us. Mm-hmm. So just knowing that when you have that faith in God, that things are going to happen for you. Yeah,
and that's amazing. And it reminds me, again, like I said, when my professor told me, I was saying with all these different philosophies and, ways and different thoughts, who's right? And when he said, you are. And I think that's the same thing with faith. I think it's based off what you believe.
What you believe, right.
Because just like what you just gave, that analogy of the chair, we believe that the chair is going to hold us up and we're going to sit down. Right. And then there's individuals who take that faith either further and believe they can be, do, and have that which they really believe they can be. Right. So I think that faith piece really goes about on how much faith or how much belief you really want to have. Right. Right. So when you think about that, funny thing, and Tom had so many funny things. I remember one day he said, Mo, I used to think I was crazy. And he said, but now I realize I'm normal. Right. Because you really think that, going back to what my professor said, it's your philosophy. Right. Sometimes we don't believe that, right? So we believe that other people's philosophy or other people's belief is better than our own.
That's true.
Right? But when our own could get us that which we really believe that we want to be, do, and have. Does that make sense?
Or do it makes sense?
Because I'm trying to make it plain, because I remember I've always realized that, when I was coming up younger, right, that I was wondering why some people get to live the life of their dreams, right? And this is Live Your Dreams podcast. I really believe that someone has your answer. Success leaves clues. Someone has your answer. But I wondered why it appeared when I was younger that some people would go through life living their dreams, right? And really believing they could be, do, and have that which their soul desires. And then there's individuals who didn't, right? Right. And when I was coming up, I was surrounded by individuals who didn't believe that for whatever reason. Right. Right. And as I got older, I started to really think that I had some say in life. Right. I had some choices that I can make that could change my life.
That's true.
And it's just like with the weight loss piece. I really believe if I eat less,
if you stay consistent with walking
and move more,
drink your water, you'll lose
weight. So it's faith that believing in that, but then doing is the execution part.
Right.
And I think that's the part where it takes faith to execute.
Right.
Right? It takes faith to move off on your belief. So if I believe, right, talk about weight loss. If I believe that if I eat less and move more,
right,
and then I execute to actually do it, that's applying my faith.
Right. That's
and
the same thing about living your dreams.
Yeah, yeah. So
doing things in life.
For it. So I mean, what do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, it's the same thing. You have faith and you believe and you can do it.
Yeah. So I think that's the key when you talk about faith, and you can apply that to anything. You can take it away from weight loss and you can apply it to what you want to do with your life.
Right.
Right? Because if, for instance, you wanted to be, let's just take any profession. You wanted to be a medical doctor.
Right.
Right? And let's make it live even more. Let's say you wanted to be a financial investor, right? Okay. Now, Warren Buffett said he reads 5 hours a day, right? Mm-hmm. Every day.
Right.
I believe if any individual say, I'm going to read 5 hours a day, a financial topic, you can't help but to be financially successful.
Right.
Because you're doing that what it takes to be successful. It's the faith. You got to be
consistent with it too.
You have to be consistent. You have to execute. And that's the key. When you talk about faith, faith without works is dead. You have to execute.
Right.
And that's what I learned early in life when I said, you know what? I can't sit around and wish something happened.
Right.
I have to get up and make it happen.
Right.
And that's faith. You have to execute.
Right.
Faith without works is dead. So that's faith. Execute.
Right.
So let's stop right there with the execution part. I want to come back to that, but let's stop real quick for our sponsor. All right, Short Child Care, short name, long in service. That was Tom's quote. Again, Short Child Care is working hard to expand, but right now there is a waiting list. Okay, but the number is on your screen. Please call. Put your child's name on that waiting list. And again, Short Child Care is working hard to expand. All right, now let's go back to what we were talking about with faith, the execution part, because I think that's the key, and that's where we say faith without works is dead.
Right.
It's that execution piece. And when I was coming up, they used to use that term pipe dreamers, right?
Right.
And, people say, oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. But you would never see it materialize. Now, I don't...
Or maybe they didn't have the financial piece or the belief.
But again, it's the execution. Because as you start to maneuver in life, you realize that money is the least of the problems when it comes to making dreams come true. Because again, if you're reading 5 hours a day, I assure you're going to find the money. Because it's too much money out there. It's too much money out there not to be exposed to where the money is to get it if you're reading 5 hours a day. But the key is this, when we're talking about pipe dreamers, and I grew up with that, it was the execution part. Because I've heard some great ideas from some great people. Right. I mean, really good ideas. If they would have just executed on that idea, it could have changed their life and their family's life. But it's the execution part. It's the faith on how do you go from planning to actually doing, right?
Right.
Moving forward. How do you move forward? What do you think if somebody come and say, hey, I got this idea, how can they execute that idea? How can they apply the faith?
Well, first they have to believe that they can do it. And maybe, like you said, research the financial piece. Mm-hmm. And, get help.
Yeah, because that's one of the things, it's amazing. It's fascinating to see, because, again, I've been exposed to so many different type of people, and to see some people who could just click and make things happen,
right,
where others are still in that planning stage. And it's that execution piece.
Well, some people have fear, too.
That's it. But now we're talking about faith.
Right.
I really don't think, and this is just my humble opinion, can you have fear and faith at the same time?
Sometimes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You could be fearful in the beginning, and then, you pray about it, and then you'll realize, hold up, I'm gonna go ahead and do it. You only live once.
And that's the faith. That's walking out of fear into faith.
Right.
Because I think the fears would stop so many people from living their dreams.
That's true.
Because they can do it. Because it shows, especially in this country that we live in, you can live your dreams. I mean, you can truly live your dreams. But I think it's that fear piece that stops you.
You just got to say, look, I'm going to just go ahead and do it. If you want to open a business or whatever, just do it.
I mean, that's right.
Because you're going to keep saying, well, next year or the following year.
Absolutely.
And it's never going to happen.
Absolutely. But again, and it's just like the faith piece. Mm-hmm. How do you go and move past the fear and start step one? Because step one, and I'm telling you, and this is from experience, if you don't know
you have to have support too.
Yeah, if you don't know where to start, just look at somebody who's doing that what you want to do.
Right.
Because if you look at somebody who's doing that what you want to do, and you do what they want to do, or you do what they're doing, the success will happen. It's just like with Warren Buffett. If you want to be Warren Buffett, if you're reading financial journals 5 hours a day, and you're executing on the information you read, because somewhere, if you're reading 5 hours a day, you're going to read something about how you can get financing. I assure you that. I assure you that. Because people are in business to give you money. Right. That's their business.
Talk to people.
Or talk to people. One of the things with, and especially with, with some of our children who are doing some things, the number one thing, every time they go to these different resources, the first thing they tell them, get yourself a mentor. Right. That's the number one thing. Go study with someone. Right. That's the first thing the advice you get yourself a mentor. That's the number one thing. Because again, if for some reason you're with a mentor who's doing that what you want to do, you're going to eventually do it. It's just like, for instance, if you're, say it's 10 people, right? 9 people are millionaires and you're the 10th one. And every day you're with them every day. Right. You can't help but to become a millionaire. Right. Because you're with them every day. You're talking the same thing they're talking about. So when they're going to look at different investments, what are you going to do? You're going to go look at different investments too. Right. You can't help. So it's your surroundings. So that what you want to do, you just got to first and foremost find yourself a mentor. Right. Right? You need a mentor. Second, once you get the mentor, you just got to believe yourself. That goes back to what Tom said, that self-programming and biofeedback. You really got to program yourself. Tom used to say that we all are brainwashed. Right. But he just decided to participate with his brainwash, right? Mm-hmm. He decided to participate. So what that means, even though we all brainwash, why don't I control what I watch or what I control what I read? So with the brainwashing or the information I get, I'm controlling it, right? Right. So that's just like reading 5 hours a day. Mm-hmm. If you can read 5 hours a day, you're controlling what you read. Right. Right. So you can't help but to be successful on the topic that you're reading. Right. So when we talk about that, what does that mean to you? When you talk about living your dreams and really becoming successful, if you had one thing to tell somebody, how do you get past the fear and go toward the faith? What's the number one thing they could do? The
first thing, you got to have support. It'd be nice if you had somebody that has the same mindset of what you're trying to do, and that can encourage you to do it. Because we do have fear, and sometimes you don't know where to start. You want that business, but you don't know where to start. You don't know who to go to, who I talk to. Then you're talking about the financial piece. Everybody don't have capital, to do things.
So what I'm hearing you say, first and foremost, find yourself a mentor.
Right.
Find yourself a mentor. Because, again, with that mentor.
And get with people that has, like you said, that's doing the same thing you want to do. If you want to open, say like, okay, we got a daycare. Say you want to open a daycare. You get with people that already have one.
Absolutely.
And talk to them and see what they did.
Absolutely. And that's the key. I think that's the key to success. Because, ladies and gentlemen, you can really live your dreams.
Do something that you enjoy.
Yeah, I think that's the key. You really got to have something that wakes you up in the morning. I mean, life is short. Tomorrow's not promised. A lot of
people don't like what they do.
Yeah, that's a painful situation to be in. Right. And I've been in that situation, I mean, you know, I would dig ditches to feed my family.
Right.
I would do whatever it has to do, and I wouldn't have no shame about it. But
so what do you think? You tell the people what you did to get yourself out of that fear.
Well, first and foremost, truly, I had a mentor. I had a fearless mentor, man. I had a courageous mentor. I had and some would say crazy mentor. I mean, he really believed you can be, do, and have that which your soul desires. He believed it could nobody convince him you couldn't live your dreams.
So did you have that fear?
Of course I had that fear. I mean, I had a fear of poverty. I mean, I really thought probably it's been years now, but I used to think that I would lose everything, man. I really thought it would come crumbling down. I mean, it was horrible. But, you know, once you start to develop your skill set and you realize that what you did, all you had to do is repeat it. If I lose everything today, I could get it back like that because I know the steps now.
Right.
I have a hell of a work ethic, right?
Right.
But the fear piece, I think work takes away the fear.
Okay. Because
as long as I'm working and I have that energy creates income, and as long as I'm working and I'm doing, right, you're going to produce income.
Now, what about people that don't have that income to get a business?
Yeah. Now, one of the things is I would definitely recommend, first and foremost, as of course I've been around for a while now, so now I kind of know some things, but I would say number one, I think Jay-Z said it best, the way some people have controlled things is credit. Right? I didn't know how valuable credit was. You know, our credit was so horrible back in the day. We were at 575 and we were happy.
Wow.
But, you know, I think first and foremost, I would recommend you get your credit right.
Right.
You want to work hard, which is not hard to do. Just pay your bills. You want to get your credit, I would say somewhere between 710, 720. You get your credit, 710, 720. Start to read some books. I mean, you can start to learn different things on how to fund your business with your LLC. I mean, there's so much you can learn, but you got to have access. But the only way you have access, and don't let nobody tell you, I mean, you could do things without credit because there's some creative things. Because if you believe, you could do whatever you want if you believe.
Right.
But I'm telling you how to set yourself up.
Right.
You would definitely want to make sure your credit's good so that you can have access to capital, right? And then once you have access to capital, you got to know what to do with it. Because again, if you don't know what to do with it, you could just throw it all away,
right.
Which, you know, we've done plenty of times. But one of the things is once you start to get some experience, and I guess you got to go through the mistakes right. in order to realize what you're doing. But once you realize that, I would say if you could keep your credit good, you'll have access to capital. Once you do that, you got to know what to do with it. Because, again, you got to know what type of business you want to do or what type of investment you want to get into. You have to know what you want to do with it. Mm-hmm. And you got to do something, I think you said a key, you got to do something that you're passionate about.
Right.
You got to do something that wakes you up in the morning. Because, again, if you want to invest in, say, stocks and you don't like stocks, that probably ain't the best thing for you, right? Mm-hmm. So you just got to realize what you want to invest in. Because there's different businesses you could start. I mean, you've seen people start a cleaning company. You know, we had a cleaning company before. But you had some individuals that had cleaning companies and took it all the way to make it a multi-million-dollar business.
Right.
You had some people who were garbage collectors who turned it into a multi-million-dollar business. You see so many people turning lawn care businesses into multi-million-dollar businesses. So you have to know what you want to do.
Right.
You know, so I mean, I say my number one thing before even the finances is get yourself a mentor. I think a mentor is more valuable than the finances. Okay. Because the mentor will show you everything you need to do because they'll show you what they did.
Right.
Yep. So, I mean, faith, I could talk about faith all day.
Right.
That's something you really got to live, and that's something you really got to experience. I mean, remember, I mean, you only live once. And I try to stress that to people. Tomorrow's not promised. You only live once. But if you do it right, once is enough.
Right.
Right? And success leaves clues, and someone has your answer. I believe that you could definitely be successful. But any closing remarks, Tia?
Just keep the faith.
Keep the faith. I love it, Tia. I love it. And again, ladies and gentlemen, if you keep the faith, I'll see you. And yes, I do mean you. Living your dreams. Peace.